In today's environment of digital transformation, industries deal with large volumes of data and uncertainties in data requirements. By shifting towards shared resources, companies intend to reduce costs associated with exponential data growth and data volatility. Cloud technology services offer a digital infrastructure and software that multiple businesses can share. Companies adopt a rental model for their data storage and processing needs rather than investing in capital infrastructure. This research explores the relative operating expenses and capital expenditures in the business model of companies that use CTS. We began by collecting data from the annual and quarterly reports from 25 CTS consumers across 5 sectors. We then searched the footnotes and management's comments to collect information on capital expenditures, operational expenditures, and elements of cost of revenues. We conducted a ratio analysis on elements of OPEX, CAPEX, and assets against revenues, performed a what-if analysis to illustrate net income benefits of CTS adoption, and then finally, we performed a graphical analysis utilizing tools like Excel, BI, Tableau, and Lumira.
So we analyzed diverse companies in terms of cloud services usage. There were startups, those that were transitioning to the cloud, and those that were well established in the cloud. We grouped companies based on book value and industry type. Financial statements, there were 2 kinds. Those that merely mentioned cloud services, and those that had details on subscription lease fees. When we look at financial statements, we look for operating lease kind of behavior instead of capital investments. So we focused on assets, liabilities, cost of revenue, capital expenditure, and cash flow. The challenges that we had was that no company showed expected trend across all cloud metrics. No metric showed expected trend across all companies. Subscription cost was not disclosed with great specificity in the 10-Ks. This was because subscriptions were project-based, so they were discontinuous cloud subscriptions. Companies use hybrid infrastructure, which is a mix of cloud as well as on-premise. Also, the cost of subscription was a low percentage of the total cost. So when companies transition to the cloud, the operational expenditure increases and the capital expenditure tend to remain stagnant. We looked at Activision Blizzard, which is a gaming company. They use cloud. They started using transition to the cloud from 2015, which they report in their 10-Ks. They noted that the cost of revenue steeply increased beginning from 2015 only because of subscription costs. You see in this graph a steady increase in the operational expenditure after 2015, whereas the capital expenditure has remained stagnant. Etsy displayed the same behavior. Etsy is a great cloud player right from the beginning. They would be transitioning to the Google Cloud by 2020. You can see that operational expenditures have always been increasing in a steady, steep incline, whereas the capital expenditures have stayed flat. Assets to revenue ratio takes a dip when companies transition to the cloud. We see here Activision Blizzard, Adobe, Etsy, and Expedia, which are diverse companies with a wide range of book values. When they started moving to the cloud around 2015, the assets to revenue ratio, which was increasing until then, started taking a dip. Free cash flow is another aspect that we looked at. Because of low debt and low interest expenses, higher net income is realized by these companies. Higher net income and lower capital expenditure lead to higher free cash flow. From beginning of 2015, we see the free cash flow has been increasing for Adobe, Etsy, and HubSpot. We looked at Okta, which is an internet security provider using the Amazon Web Services. They use subscription costs, which is almost 20% of the total revenue. Subscription cost increases at a lower rate compared to the total revenue that is generated. We did a what-if analysis of Glue, which is a mobile gaming company. Glue uses around 2 to 4% of their total revenue for subscription fee. Increasing the subscription fee to about 10% instead of the 2 to 4% would decrease their on-premise assets by a factor of 1.58. This asset decrease would lead to a better asset turnover ratio and improved cash flow, as we can see in these 2 graphs.
In conclusion, operational expenditures increase at a much higher rate compared to capital expenditures after moving operations to the cloud. Asset turnover increases since a hosting fee gets reported as an operational expense and the on-premise assets required to generate revenues decrease. Operational cash flows increase since the decrease in liabilities is much greater than the increase in operational expenses. The financial leverage ratio is improved since the contractual obligations for cloud hosting fees are not reported as a liability. And some points of discussion. Cloud technology services enable startup companies to begin operations at lower levels of debt. Businesses can scale operations quickly without requiring large capital investments using cloud services. A new line of businesses based on subscription revenues and subscription expenses emerged utilizing cloud technology services. And the FASB recently issued ASU 2018-15, required for fiscal years beginning after December 15, 2019. Customers accounting for implementation costs incurred in a cloud computing arrangement that is a service contract, which aligns the requirements for capitalizing and implementation costs in a cloud computing arrangement with the requirements for capitalizing implementation costs incurred for an internal use software license.